Okay, so here we are in my living room playing music, and it's being played by this little thing. That's a Raspberry Pi in there through Spotify Connect. And let's if we go into my kitchen, you will hear the exact same music playing here. And also again, that black box here, you have another Raspberry. And well, it's playing in perfect sync. There's no wires going from the living room in there and out here to these speakers or vice versa. It's all communicating with Wi-Fi, playing on Spotify Connect in perfect sync. And now I'm going to show you how to set this up yourself. I'm going to add a third device in my office. So I have all the rooms, well, except my bathroom out here, covered. Okay, so you've seen my current setup in the intro, and now I want to add a third device to my Balena-Sound setup. And what we need is obviously a Raspberry Pi, and we need an SD card, or a micro SD card actually. Yeah. So currently I already have a Raspberry Pi 3 Model B Plus running in the living room, and in the kitchen I have a Raspberry Pi 3 Model A running. And of course we need a set of speakers to connect to this. Now I'm just gonna take you through how easy this setup is, and you won't believe how easy it is to get running, because everything auto configures pretty much. So what we need to do, let's switch screens here. What we do, just search for BalenaSound. Then we get this, you should find this page. I think it should be the first hit you get. We go in here, then you need to create an account for the Balena Cloud dashboard. There's a link here to set it up. Once you've have that and logged in, you just click the deploy with Balena. Then we get in here, we can either create a new application or add it to whatever you want. You don't need to mess around with the advanced settings. I've just deployed mine to BalenaSound, which we have here. Once that is done, we just need to go in and add a device. You also have this beginner's help up here, which will kind of guide you on your way. Go in here, select your device type. There's all sorts of embedded systems supported. We're gonna go with the Raspberry Pi 4. And we can go down here. I want to select Wi-Fi plus Ethernet, because I want mine to connect through Wi-Fi, so I can just drop it wherever. It's already remembered my network settings from the other devices that I've deployed. We don't need to mess around with the advanced options. Once that's done, you just click the download button. I've already downloaded this. So what we do then is you load up Etcher. This is an old version of Etcher. The new version is called Balena Etcher, but it's really easy to do. I just flashed my card, but what we do is just you go in here, select your image from wherever it is on disk, then you select your drive, the SD card that you want to use, and then you press flash and just wait a few minutes. And then you're ready to boot up your Pi. So basically we just go back here and we take our SD card, take this, we stick it in the rear end of the Pi here, like that, and then we boot it up. And then we'll go back to the dashboard so you can see what's happening here. So I'll get some power going. Now, in my experience, this doesn't take very long at all. I'm not gonna time it, but you can see the clock in the just shifted over to 52, and I expect that within 1 or 2 minutes we'll see the new device pop up in the list here. And there we go. Now it's got a weird name. We can change that. There we got that. So we can click on it, go in here, and you see it's downloading. We get a log view here. We can see that it's running, it's named Divine Feather. Let's rename that to Office, because that's where it will be sitting. I'll just rename that. And then we scroll down here, you can see, oh, it knows it's running this BalenaSound application, so it's automatically downloading AirPlay, Bluetooth audio, Spotify, and the Snapcast client and server, plus Fleet Supervisor, which it'll use to auto-detect the other devices on the network and actually make this multi-room thing work. So we just wait till all this is completed, then we hook up some speakers, and we should in theory be ready to go. There's some more advanced configuration options that I'll go through once we are up and going, but let's just see that we can get this to actually play something. And just a quick note, you'll see it said failed to download image, yada yada yada. In my experience, it doesn't matter. It'll try again in a little while, and it'll eventually go through. Just give it some time, and it will probably be fine. Okay, so it should in theory be ready to go. I've hooked up some speakers. The whole thing, I've just rebooted it, so we can't see the timestamp here, but I think it took about 20 minutes from I powered it on till it was ready. So if I go on my phone now, and let's just switch here. So if I go on Spotify and into devices, this requires Spotify Premium, but you could use Bluetooth audio instead, or AirPlay. But if I go in here, I should see, yes, I see BalenaSound Spotify 2999. So it's kind of a weird name. And we can also go into AirPlay and Bluetooth and find it there. But it gets a weird name out of the box. We can change that. I'll go through that in a little while, but let's see if it works. So I'll select the Balena, and then we'll go and find something that's hopefully not copyrighted. So let's go with something classical, like some Mozart, perhaps. And it can take a little while to start playing because it needs to sync with all the devices, and that can take a few seconds. But if I turn up the audio, maybe you can hear it in the background. It's not very loud right now. And I don't know if the others are playing. I can't actually hear them from here right now because they aren't turned up very loud. But what I'm gonna do is, well, we could turn it up even more. That's another thing I've done. The Spotify sound is way down when it first connects. So, and we can go in and adjust some, tweak the audio output in the device. If I move my mic, you should be able to hear it. So let's just go on a little house walk and see if it all works. Okay, so it did in fact not work, which I wasn't expecting, but I fixed it. And the only thing I did was I went into the dashboard here, go into the application, to the device list, select all, actions, and reboot. And then I rebooted all of them. And then it did start to work. And now it's lagging. Hopefully that will catch up. Okay, so let's do the housewalk now and see it working. So here we are in the kitchen. Hopefully you can hear that playing. So we go into the office. And that's playing. And we'll continue into the living room. And that's playing. And there's no I'm just listening for sync issues, but that does not appear to be anyone. Everything appears to be pretty much perfectly in sync. So there we have it. Now let's look at some of those advanced options for configuring the device names and such that I was speaking about. Okay, so what we can do here is we can configure some variables for our devices. So what I've done is, you can see here, I've added some device environment variables, and we have some various stuff here. And you can also go into specific services and put variables here. I don't know if this actually works on all of them or if it's just specific, but yes, I found this. So let's add, no, that's already added. So here you can add a variable. If you do it in this page, you set it for all devices, but if you go into your device and set it here, then you just set it for that specific device. So we want to configure the Raspberry Pi 4 that I just added. So you can see we have nothing here yet, but we do have these because I set these for all devices. It's the system output volume that will set the initial volume when you connect through Spotify or Bluetooth or AirPlay, that it starts playing at, so it doesn't start blasting at full your full volume. And then you can just use the volume controller on your phone to turn it up like you would with the Bluetooth speaker often. Have we done anything else here? I don't think so. So we just need to add, let's see, I want to add we want to definitely add, we want to add system output volume and device name to this new device, because the system volume is default set at 75%, which can be a bit low. The volume output on the Raspberry Pis is generally not that great, so we'll set that to 95. Hopefully that's okay. I set it to 85 on the Model A I have in the kitchen, because the signal gets a little bit noisy if I set it any higher. So let's call this, I think I've called the others Balena. Let's just check that on the phone here. My connection, yeah. So we'll call this Balena, well, not Office. I'll use the Danish terminology like I've done for the others. Kontor. Like so. And I think we might have to, no, we may have to reboot it for this. Yeah, you can see it's still discoverable as BalenaSound. So we probably have to, we could probably just get away with restarting the application. That's the difference between reboot and restart. Reboot actually restarts the Pi entirely, and restart just reboots the applications. So that should be enough. And once that's done, it should show up as Balena Office or Contour. When I try to connect to it with Spotify Connect or AirPlay or Bluetooth or whatever. So let's see. Yeah, device is discoverable as Balena Contour. Excellent. So that's it. The only hitch was that I just had to reboot the the devices before they discovered each other after I added a new device. I think it should in theory be able to discover each other, but something apparently went wrong in my case, and I just had to do a reboot for them to actually figure out what was going on. And that's it. Now I have synchronized audio in 3 rooms in my apartment. And well, it's a small apartment, so there's actually only one more room, and that's the bathroom. And I don't think I want to mess around with adding anything out there, as I would have to think about waterproofing it and such. And there's not actually any power other than the lights in the bathroom, so I might have to piggyback off that or something. Yeah, that'll just be a mess. And since it's an apartment, I'm not going to be living here forever. I don't want to mess around with that. If it was my own house, yeah, I would probably look into doing something like that. But I'm going to leave it alone in this case. Just one more thing. Since I didn't want to add an extra set of speakers in the office, I still already have my speakers connected to my computer, and I didn't want to add an extra set of speakers in the living room where I already have a set of speakers connected to the TV. I bought some of these, and you'll think, well, wait, that's a video thing, right? Yeah, it's a switch. It's got 3 inputs, as you can see, and 1 output. So the output goes to speakers, and I can add up to 3 inputs. So I can use the same speakers, I just have to switch where the sound is coming from. And the reason why I bought one with a composite as well is because it's cheaper. For some reason, the audio switches I could find on Amazon and my local stores and stuff seems to be cost almost twice as much as if you go for a good old composite / audio switch. So yeah, if you're thinking about buying something like this and you're thinking, that's a bit expensive, I was actually starting to look into building my own, because that's just seemed, I mean, it's just a number of connections that needs to be switched. I mean, it's pretty simple stuff, really, but then I realized, well, you can just get these for composite and audio for half the price, and then I bought a couple of these instead. So that's a little tip. Okay, but that's pretty much it for now. Well, if you wanted, I could add, if you wanted to be able to listen to both the sound from the Balena setup and, in this instance, my computer, at the same time, you shouldn't just use a splitter in reverse or something like that, because you're sending signals into each other's sound cards and stuff. That seems like a bad idea. What you would need in that case would be a mixer to do it properly, and yeah, that's quite a bit more expensive. So I've gone with this. Yeah, I'll have to go around and manually flip the switches. That's how it goes, you know, if you want to do it cheap. But yeah, that's all you need. A few speakers around the house, which you in many cases already have. The only pair of speakers I've added is the one in the kitchen, and those cost me less than $10. I bought them used. It's a set of just desktop PC speakers from Creative. Cheap, secondhand. and then I have 3 Raspberry Pis. You can go with the, I'll recommend nothing lower than the Raspberry Pi 3 Model A, because, well, you've got the audio jack, which you don't have if you go with something like a Raspberry Pi Zero. You need to add an audio hat. And if you go with a Raspberry Pi 1 or 2, you don't have Wi-Fi, so you need to think about that. It needs to be wired, or you need to add a dongle, and you need to figure out how to install that on this OS. So I'd say go with a Raspberry Pi 3 or higher. Any of the models pretty much should work from there on. Yeah, and then you're good to go. You just need to go through this setup, and it's really simple. The only thing I've had to do to fix an issue is to reboot the devices, and then it fixed itself. So yeah, I hope you're inspired by this. I just thought there was a really cool, cheap alternative to many of like Sonos and the other multi-room or all house surrounds sound setups you can get. They tend to get quite pricey, and this seems to work perfectly adequately for my use. The only downside is that it can be a little bit laggy sometimes. Sometimes if any of the devices, now they're all running on Wi-Fi, if any of them drop a packet or something, then they get out of sync, and rather than just dropping that part of the music on the device that got out of sync, it seems like then all the other devices wait for that one device to catch up, which means you get a cut in the music where everything stops playing for half a second and then it resumes playing. In my experience, it's not something that happens so often that it annoys me, but it definitely something you notice when it happens. So I think that's something that could be improved, and I think the way, well, I haven't looked into how this is coded, how that the Snapcast server thing, which I think is what it's using to communicate how that works. But personally, I think for something like music, you're not sharing data that needs to be complete. For music, you can drop a part of it. Then you just have like the speakers in the kitchen go silent for half a second, and the other stuff continuing to play, instead of them all going silent for half a second and then continuing to play. In my opinion, that would have been better for this application, but that's not how they've done it. Or maybe there's a hidden option somewhere where you could tell it to do that instead. Yeah, if anybody knows if that exists, that would be nice. Tell me in the comments. Okay, but that's it for now. I'm gonna enjoy some music and take care.